Okay, so it's the day after. Sorry I didn't record this right after the game. Again, you could tell I'm in another, not my house, and you can hear my voice that I was at the game. So yeah, sorry I didn't do this post game, but we got home at like 2:33 a.m. because of the rain delay and just trying to get out. So probably yeah, did not have the energy to do it. Voice is shot. I think even way more shot than last time. But there's a lot to talk about in this game, so I'm sorry if you guys have to hear me like this. Thank God I pre-recorded sketches until tomorrow so that they don't sound like this. Hopefully I'm back. But okay. I think as I'm talking to, because it's early in the morning, you can tell like I just got out of the shower and stuff. So I think the more I talk, the more my voice will warm up. But Pittsburgh dropped the game to Dallas last night, and there was a lot to take away from it. But I already know what the title of this video is going to be. It's essentially going to be, like the Steelers might have a Mike Tomlin problem, or the concerns about Mike Tomlin are starting. And I'm gonna start there because I think a lot of the entirety of the game issues come back to what I'm about to talk about. So, yeah, I know. Listen, I have been the biggest defender of Mike Tomlin. I'm not calling for him to get fired. I'm just gonna bring awareness to something that I've been noticing. Um, you know, Mike Tomlin is a defensive-minded head coach who is not necessarily known by his players. I'm not saying he doesn't know schemes. I'm just saying he's not known to be a schematic coach. He's more of a motivator, hype coach. He's a player's coach. That's why everybody loves him. And like I said, this isn't me trying to call for his job or anything. I'm just something I've noticed. Once Ben got hurt and we had Randy Finkner, and even when Ben came back after his bad injury, the offense has not changed. It has looked the exact same since 2019, in my opinion. And in 2019, I said, Randy Finkner has to go. His run, pass offense is getting ridiculous. We're having slow starts. We can't get anything going no matter who is under center, no matter the weapons we have. It is ridiculous. Pittsburgh fires Randy Finkner. They bring in Matt Canada, who, granted, I wanted them to bring in. My mistake. That was on me. I misjudged that situation. But we bring him at Canada. After the first season, I go, okay, this is bad. This run, pass mentality is too predictable. We're not scoring points fast enough. Something needs to change. Ben retires. We get Kenny Pickett. Okay, this run, pass has to change. Or I'm sorry, we got Matt Canada for Kenny's rookie year. But, this run, pass needs to change. We're getting off to slow starts. Something has changed. Our weapons are not getting fed the ball. Kenny's second year. I'm going to the season thinking, wow, we are going to mesh. This is going to be great. The preseason looked awesome. And by mid-season, right before Matt Canada is fired, I said, we cannot keep run past the ball. We are going to slow starts. Our offensive weapons are not getting the ball. So we are having a consistent problem. And now we enter this season with a new offensive coordinator who is so highly touted he got a head coaching job. It might not have worked out in Atlanta, but I'm old enough to remember when Arthur Smith made Ryan Tannehill look like a Pro Bowler. But now we're 5 games in, and I'm saying, wow, the run pass needs to change. We are not starting games fast enough. Our weapons are not being used. It has been almost 5 years of the same story, and I think genuinely a lot of this is falling on Mike Tomlin. And it has taken 3 coordinators to realize this. Now the schemes look different. The play calls look different. We are using players differently, which is nice. Like if you look at, we'll talk about George Pickens, but if you look at our receiver chart, like the route trees, is completely different from last year. So like Arthur Smith is calling things and designing really good play calls, and like the touchdown of Pat Freiermuth, you wouldn't have seen that in the last 10 fucking years from Pittsburgh on essentially a fake pitch shovel pass into the end zone. That's very Kansas City-esque. So there are new elements implemented into the game for Pittsburgh, but the going down to like essentially what the main problems are the exact same for the offense, and it's gonna show up on the defense too. What happens if you can't control the time possession? What happens if you can't get first downs? What happens if you can't convert third downs? Your defense is constantly gonna be on the field. What happened? What did the team look like for the first 3 weeks? We were able to control the clock. We were like, and I know, and somehow the offense hasn't looked worse, but it also somehow has. Like, everyone is going to say Justin is not the quarterback, which if you watch this game, You can't. There were 3 passes that were dropped that were probably a good combination of like 90 yards. So yeah, I know Justin finished with 135 passing yards. There's 90 right there on the field that he placed perfectly, and they couldn't come down with. But anyways, we'll talk about other things. I don't want to get on a tangent, but it really feels like this is a Tomlin thing, and I don't know why. I don't know what Tomlin's fear is about going off to a hot start. Like, why do you? I understand you want to control the clock, and I understand you want to like ground and pound, but also, wouldn't it be nice to be up 28-6, or 28-7? I'm not saying Pittsburgh could have done that in this situation or in this game, but like, wouldn't that be nice? Because then you can play with that leniency. Like, I think it's much better to get up early and then use that conservatism and use that ground and pound and then control the clock. But if you're relying on every single game, which it feels like for the last 4 years, every single game has been this way. If you're relying on a fourth quarter either stop or a fourth quarter comeback, that is not what you should be doing. You should be trying, like Pittsburgh is essentially playing 1 quarter of football, the fourth. Pittsburgh is using the first 3 as like practice. Like, well, we'll see if this works. Like, I don't understand what we're doing. It just all looks the same. Now let's talk more about the game. Both sides let us down, so I don't know where I want to start first. I guess I was kind of talking about Justin, so we'll start with the offense. Justin was fine. There were some play calls I really did like actual designed runs for Justin, which we went away from. This is another thing. I went to the game with Zach, and the first quarter for Pittsburgh, we were like, yeah, we may have punted or whatever, and we didn't cover to more than a field goal in the first quarter. But the offense had life, man. Throwing deep bombs on first down multiple times, like taking shots, design runs for Justin. We'll talk about Naji in a second, but like, and then we just stopped. Like, what? Why did we just stop? It's like, it feels like a kid playing Madden who's kept spamming the same play every single time, hoping it works, and it stopped working. So they were just like, all right, I'm never gonna use that play again. It's like, no. It just, you need to use it proper. Oh my God, Pittsburgh. Like, the first quarter was so encouraging, and you didn't see it anywhere else ever again in that game. I'll talk about George Pickens in a second. I want Pittsburgh to trade for Devontae Adams. I do. That's not a hot take. That's not, oh, wow, he's being real bold here, guys. But what I'm going to say is kind of bold. Why would Devontae want to come to Pittsburgh? Relax, people that are freaking out. Justin, by halftime, threw the ball 9 times. He completed 4. We had 9 passing plays in 30 minutes of football. I think at that point, Dallas had thrown the ball 25 times. Now, granted, their run game is not that well. Actually, their run game was fine, but we threw the ball 9 times. So Devontae wants to leave Vegas because he wants to win and because he wants to get his. Let's say so. Justin finished, I think, with 24 attempts. I'm using my phone to record because my camera is dead and I left the battery at the airport. But let's say I think it was 24 times. That's not 24 completions. That's 24 attempts, and I think he completed 17 of them. So let's say Devontae gets half of that, right? He gets half of the 17. Okay, he had 8 catches, 8.5 technically, but 8 catches. But then no one else. And that's not how Pittsburgh's offense is. They try to use as many weapons as possible. So, but the point of the matter is, if you're going to throw the ball 24 times, Devontae's not going to want to come to this team. If we can't even use George Pickens, who apparently was on a snap count for whatever fucking reason, okay, now we're going to talk about George Pickens. Well, no, we'll talk about him at the end. But, receiving options. Why is Connor Hayward our deep threat? Yeah, he dropped the ball, and it was annoying because he had it, but he's also a fullback tight end. We should not be, leaning on him to make these plays. You should put Van Jefferson there, who almost had a great sideline catch. You should be putting even Scotty Miller, receiving options. Pat Freiermuth had a great game. Darnell Washington effectively removed. He had 1 target in the first quarter, just stopped it. I don't understand. We don't have the weaponry. Pittsburgh is genuinely one. They're 2 things away from a contender. They're a receiver, and they are a change in mindset about the offense. And maybe one of those things happened. And spoiler alert, it's not the change in mindset. So now let's talk about George. And then we'll talk about Naji. George was on a snap count. And I'm going to say this. George has shown us that he is a diva. Is he talented as hell? Yes, he is. I argue he's a top 5 talent in the NFL. if you put him on teams that actually like used their offense or like wanted their offensive weapons to succeed, he would probably already be considered like a top 10, maybe even top 5 receiver because of the talent he has. But Pittsburgh refuses to give him the ball. But apparently he was on a snap count today. He has, I think it's pretty fair to say that he does have not emotional issues, not personality issues, but you guys are like ego. He has an ego. He has ego issues, which just comes with the league nowadays, sadly. But so I don't know if something happened, but I will say it's one thing if it's your third string receiver, and I know you have to make an example out of everybody, but all you're doing is pissing him off. We have 1 year left on his contract, and we are effectively wasting all this talent. We are genuinely wasting it. Oh, wow. Look what happens when you target him 9 times, 10 times. He has a good fucking game. Every time actually, like, I know he had 7 targets today, but a lot of them were just like, oh, it's 3rd and long. I'm just going to throw the ball towards his area. Hope it doesn't get intercepted. That's all it was. So I don't know what's going on, George. The shit at the end was horrible. Like, you can't do that. That's where I see that there's issues. Like, you can't. He got taunted, I will say that, but that doesn't excuse what he did. That's basically all I'm going to talk about with George, because the other points I'll talk about, I kind of touched on with Devontae, just like target-wise and stuff. Also, anyone who's like, Russ would be doing better. Russ would not be doing better, you guys. What are we doing? Like, two losses in a row, and everyone's like, Justin Fields is shit. It's like, no, Justin Fields is being set up for failure. Okay, Naji, I don't know. Pittsburgh didn't pick up his 5th-year option. I think that's for the best, man. He doesn't have any explosivity. He was our leading receiver because of a screenplay, but I don't see it. I don't see it. I see it with Jalen. I see it somehow with Cordero Patterson. I don't see it with Naji. This is the worst run defense in the league, already down their 2 star defensive players, and we were 14 for like 70? Oh, the 70 looks nice. The inefficiency is ridiculous. I think Pittsburgh's overall yards per carry by the end of the game was like 3.9, but that's inflated because Fields had like 4 carries for 10 yards, essentially, like 4 carries for 10 yards each, so essentially like 40 yards or whatever. I don't have my stats in front of me, but those would inflate the yards per carry metric. But Naji, it's like instead of just hitting the hole right away, and I understand patience is important as a back. You have to be able to take a second and read it. Like, Le'Veon was obviously the king at this. But, like, Naji just sits there for way too long. That's why Cordell Patterson was working last week. He just hits a hole. He's not waiting for anything. And Naji needs to do that. Also, take the fucking pitch plays out of the playbook, please. Naji is not a vertical runner. Take the pitch plays out of the playbook unless it's like Jaylen Warren. But that's another thing that I'm seeing is Pittsburgh desperately needs Jaylen Warren. It's a bad and ugly offense running offense when Naji owns offense in general, when Naji is our number one, and it kills me, man, because he's just never had that explosivity, and I've tried to defend it, that like, the scheme isn't great, and again, I'm going to say this too, this is fair, we're down 2 offensive linemen, but it's not like that this is showing us a worse on the field than like the last 3 years. It's just the same. Naji will get his 1,000 yards if he continues to run because he's getting 1,000 fucking carries. Like, I know he's gotten 3 1,000-yard seasons, and no active running back has done that, but we can't keep relying on these stupid statistics. Oh, we've never had a losing season. Oh, Naji's run for 1,000 yards. Oh, we're not. I mean, I do like the one that we're not turning the ball over. That's actually one of the few wins from this game. But like, we like to hold on to these metrics. Like, oh, look how cool this is. Cool. What the fuck has it amounted to? Our last playoff one was 8 years ago. Why do we give a shit? Oh, well, this and this and this and that. Like, it's not going to happen, but, like, the kid from Boise State, his name is just lost my brain. He's not going to fall in the first round or even in the second, But, like, if he did, that would be a smart pickup for Pittsburgh to put him with Jalen, Or even just, like, letting Naji walk and letting Jalen take over. Like, I think that'd be fine, which sucks because I like Naji as a person. He's not working out as a player. Now let's talk about the defense. Is there anything else I want to talk about on offense? No. We need a receiver. Yeah, no, there's nothing else I can really talk about. Defense. Wow. Pittsburgh's defense really held Dallas to 20 points and 13 up until the last 20 seconds of the game. No, they did not. Pittsburgh got so lucky that the miscommunication between CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott on the left side of the goal line touchdown that was intercepted happened. That was lucky. We got lucky that we blocked the kick. And also, a lot of these require skill, I know. But just Pittsburgh has this history of being overly lucky somehow. So I'm just going to call it Pittsburgh luck. I think Urinating Tree calls it Pittsburgh's bullshit. But the Pittsburgh bullshit. But we had a blocked field goal. We had the forced fumble in the first half of the game, which we recovered on TJ's, I think, 100th career sack. And then we had the forced fumble that we couldn't hop on. So they scored a touchdown for that one, but that is 3 points. That is another 7 points for that touchdown that was picked off because they were driving. They had momentum. So that's 10 points. And they were also driving on the fumble that Dak had as well. So we'll give them just 3. That's still 13 points. Essentially, Pittsburgh actually was, a couple plays away from 33 points. And, dude, the chunk plays are bad. I really want Beanie Bishop to be a good corner in this league, but he has not shown us anything. He's a rookie, and he looked like it, man. They were going at him. Every time he lined up against CeeDee Lamb, Zach and I almost had a panic attack. Like, I could not watch Beanie Bishop. Like, it was like watching a car crash in slow motion. Every time he was on somebody, whether it was a tight end. Like, Jake Ferguson was eliminated in the second half. You want to know why? Pittsburgh put Minka on him. It worked. Like, literally the first snap, I was terrified that because Dallas came out spread, I saw Ferg in his spot, and I was like, I swear to God, that's Beanie Bishop. But it was Minka, shut him down in the second half. But, and now that we just lost Corey Trice again for the second half of the season, we need another corner 3. And I think that's something Pittsburgh's going to have to explore because Dante's been great and Joey's been great, and Deshaun Elliott has been great, and Minka has been great. And now we're down Nick Herbig possibly because of a hamstring injury, which if our run defense was already shot, it's even worse now. It looked like Nick was kind of starting to get his run defense figured out. I talked about last week how we were clearly missing Alex Highsmith. The first half of this game, I think Dallas only had like 24 rushing yards. And then once the fourth quarter hit, they were running it down our throats, man. Cam Hayward, one of the best D tackles in the league, couldn't stop it. TJ couldn't stop. Well, they were going the weak side. They were going against TJ, so they were scheming against that. I mean, TJ had a good game. TJ had 2 sacks, forced fumble, I think like 7 total tackles, 1 TFL. So, TJ still got his. But, and that's the hard thing is there wasn't a single player besides Beanie that really stood out. And for the first half, honestly, if you're not giving up those chunk plays, Dallas probably is scoreless. Oh, the penalties too. I should talk about that in a second. But the first half, it was 3rd and long multiple times. I think Dallas was 9 for 15 on 3rd down conversions. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh was 3 for 12. But 9 for 15 on 3rd down, man, unacceptable. I don't know what's going on with Pittsburgh on those chunk plays because it happened last week against Indy too. Sorry, I keep looking at the clock because I have to be out of this Airbnb by 11. It's 10:15. So there's that. TJ got his. Joey, we locked down CD for the most part. I think the CD really had like one splash play, which was the corner route in the first or second quarter, in the first half essentially. But after that, they shut him down, which is funny because Joey wasn't shadowing CD a lot. Pittsburgh, okay, another thing. Pittsburgh was playing the softest of zones. Oh, my God. You could run curl routes all day on this team or the flats. Again, you're trying to eliminate the deep shot. But almost every time they took a deep shot, Joey intercepted it. It was incomplete, or they had, I think, one complete one to Jalen Tolbert on the left side of the field, went for 30. But the blitzing wasn't there. That's another thing that Pittsburgh also, it doesn't. Last year, our rush was so good because we were blitzing so often where you have to either make the decision right away or you're going to get sacked. And so, we went away from the blitz last week against Joe Flacco, even though he's not a mobile quarterback, and if you're flushing him out of the pocket, it's probably going to do you wonders. I know he's a quick quarterback who can have that instinct of, okay, now you're going to come here. He just threw for 350 today. So, there is still that element of veteranness there. But same thing with Dak. You have to make them uncomfortable. The last play of the game, Dak was so comfortable. We had a 4-man rush, and Dak could sit in that pocket forever, man. And the crossers route, we just got beat because we weren't playing underneath those cross routes. We were playing over top them. You're hoping that the safety can come down and swat it from the backfield. You should be playing underneath. I'm not a coach, obviously, and I'm not saying I could coach this team or that I'm better. It's just, it's post-game clarity, essentially. Talked about the secondary. Need to trade for a corner 3. Really bad. Pass rush was pretty. It was non-existent. Just because we had some sacks doesn't mean there was pressure the entire game. Herbig's not done, but just for that game he was. That sucks. We really need Highsmith back. We went from one of the deepest teams defensively to now one of the shallowest because of injury, which is really horrible. So I think I've kind of said everything I need to. It just sucks, man. You don't turn the ball over once and you force 3 turnovers and you lose. Yeah, that's a thing that happened. Pittsburgh also continues to kill themselves with penalties, man. It is first play of the game, the kickoff, illegal formation, gets them across the 50. How many false starts, how many illegal formations, it's – and granted, Dallas had a lot of boneheaded mistakes as well, but Pittsburgh is not – and Mike Tomlin, in my opinion, are not setting the offense up to do good things. And when the offense cannot stay on the field, the defense gets tired, the defense performs lackadaisically. And that's the story of Pittsburgh's seasons the last, 4 or 5 years. So I do think it's no longer a Matt Canada issue, though there were 95% that seemed like Matt Canada. It's not a Randy Finkner issue, though a lot of it seemed like Randy. Like, a lot of people are going to be blaming Arthur Smith here. If we're seeing the same, all right. Let's say you live in a house with your siblings, and someone has been you have 2 siblings and your mom and dad, obviously, right? And for the last couple of years, someone's been cooking you pancakes every morning. You're like, these are the shittiest pancakes ever. Well, after the first year of shitty pancakes, your sister went off to college. So now you're like, oh, it's got to be my brother that's cooking these shitty pancakes. You keep eating the pancakes. You're like, wow, brother cannot make good pancakes. Then brother goes to college as well. So you're like, is mom making the shitty pancakes? Because brother and sister are gone. And then mom is like, hey, I just got a cool new job, so I got to leave earlier in the day now. And so now you're like, Dad, are you the shitty cook here? And then somehow the Steelers fandom is going to be like, no, it's the dog. The dog is the one that doesn't know how to cook the pancakes. Like, if you see a consistent problem, what a wild analogy, by the way. But if you see a constant problem over so long, any other coach is getting called out for that. But again, I'm not calling for him to get fired, but can we hold him accountable for the fact that our offense has been fucking dog shit since Ben's injury? Oh, we had Todd Haley. Ben, I think, was so much of this offense. And then once he came back post-injury, so much had changed. I don't know, man. That's that. I don't know when this is coming up because this Airbnb does not have Wi-Fi that works, unfortunately. So don't know when this is going to go up, but hopefully today at some point. I fly back tomorrow, so there's that. And yeah, I'm just at a loss for words. I'm also still really tired. It was a late game. It was a lot of fun though. Like, for Zach's first game, this is his first ever football game. Hell of a game to go to, Like, yeah, it sucks that you got heartbroken at the end, but it's a good game and a very entertaining game. We're one play away from a win, essentially. So I also think I try to think. I'm very curious if you guys could tell me too if I'm level-headed in these. I try not to be as emotional as possible. Like, I have the emotional moments, obviously, as a Steelers fanatic, but I try to approach it from both sides. I try to be able to critique them while also giving them some credit, while also maybe giving credit to people who I usually critique or critiquing people I usually only credit. So I'm curious if you guys think that as well. But yeah, I do feel like, had we won this game after, like, let's say we recover the fumble in the fourth quarter or we stop them on 4th down, I still feel like everything I just brought up I would have talked about today, except 4-1 looks a lot nicer than 3-2 when the Ravens are now 3-2, the Bengals are 2-3, and the Browns are 1-4, so it's getting closer. I think that's the biggest thing, especially with the gauntlet we have post-Thanksgiving. All right, my voice is shot. I should probably not be talking this long. I have to edit this and get out of this Airbnb. So thank you guys for watching. I'm curious your guys' thoughts on the game, and you guys know how we end these.